Hello, I'm Mark.
I'm Casey.
And today we're going to talk a little bit about some Juniper leaks from the Chinese media. But first, let's roll that title.
Juniper leaves? Juniper berries?
Hey everyone, thanks for joining us. And today we're going to talk a little bit about some Juniper leaks. There was an article, of course, we've listed it in the show notes if you'd like to go to the article at any point and read it for yourself. But there is a Chris Zing who had previously leaked some information that was accurate for Tesla News from Tesla China. He's posted on X recently a few unique things for Project Juniper, which of course is the Model Y refresh that is not here yet.
If you heard
but
of
is
Project
coming.
Island, this is that for Model Y.
Exactly. So it's kind of interesting that that Chris believes that there is going to be an adjustment, he puts in quotes, to the battery that's in the vehicle.
Oh.
Now, this is a pretty safe bet when you say adjustments, because it doesn't say whether it's larger or smaller, or could be chemistry, could be they go with LFP. There could be many things that would be an adjustment, and he would be correct. But probably the chemistry makes most sense to me. I don't think they're going to change the can size, which is currently the 2170.
Outside of Texas.
Right.
In Texas, they can definitely easily use the 5%.
I don't see any... I don't see any move for Tesla to unify to the 4680 across all Model Ys as of yet. That's going to require a bigger shift in production. So that's not in the cards right at this time. But Juniper also has, they're thinking that this could be in line with a 10% range improvement, like we saw similarly with the Model 3 Highland when it got refreshed. So
that would be 10%, but yeah, that'd be nice if they do something similar to that.
That would certainly be nice to have another 10% added. And of course, as battery technology gets better, Tesla, of course, is at the forefront of collecting this battery information. They've got the research center in Nova Scotia with Jeff Don. They're still working on better and bigger things when it comes to batteries. And of course, we've seen this reported before that battery technology keeps marching forward. They may add 4% a year or 3% a year, but after 3 years, that's 10% basically. So there is this march forward that the Model Y is going to benefit from as well.
And depending on what they do, we might see this translate back to Model 3 because they currently use the same packs. They might use all the same packs, but like they fit. They might not use the smallest one on the Model Y.
Another piece of information that Chris shares is that a unique 7-seat design is intended now for China.
Oh.
So I guess they didn't have the 7-seat to this point. But there is this 7-seat design that's going to be intent for China, and that this same version is expected to roll out to North America and Europe. It seems that Tesla is intending to produce about 20,000 of these units in the new Chinese 7-seat version per month is what they're aiming at for production-wise.
Yeah, I don't know if this is coming from Chris, but I also heard the 6-seat Model Y coming in, similar to the Model X 6-seat.
That would be interesting.
Pretty and slidey, but just like
so getting the two seats in the middle instead of the bench.
Yeah.
That would also help maybe one of the passengers in the extremely small rear seats with no leg room. If you had the ability to stretch your leg out through the middle, that would be nicer than what is currently available with the bench, which of course is basically zero room. So
There's not much in the X, and the X is much larger.
Exactly. So what else here is it seems that the 5-seater Juniper is expected to be delivered in the first quarter of 2025. So, of course, that's coming up in under 6 months. And the 7-seater, they believe, will be fourth quarter. So, again, there's a gap between the start and getting the 7-seater. And, of course, that's no surprise because, of course, there's volume, and they typically will leave the options on the table until production is picked up and they're able to produce.
Well, that makes sense. You get people used to doing it one way. You perfect that. You learn all the ways to do it wrong and how to not do it wrong, and then you can, all right, we added another color, we added another seat option, and so on and so forth. And you start with what's going to be the most profitable and the quickest. So either a performance with not too many of the changes you plan to implement, or a base model that has just less in it. And they kind of do that.
Last item that Chris mentioned in a bit of a leak was not specific to Juniper, but he mentions that full self-driving test that's supposed to take place in China has been placed on hold. But he didn't provide any details as to why it might be put on hold or who might have put it on hold for what reason. And of course, there's no timetable, of course, as to how long the hold may or may not be. So we knew that initially there was supposed to be some testing to take place this year after Tesla had received approval from the Chinese government to test. But according to Chris, he believes that some of this has been rescinded and that FSD is going to be delayed somewhat from its initial test in China, not its deployment, just the test, which was, of course, the first step.
I can see them doing that. If getting the stuff to continue to work on hardware 3 was as hard as they seem to have had with it, then perhaps they needed those resources that were going to adapt. Because China doesn't use a normal location system as everybody else. They've got like this algorithm that they apply, and it shifts everything around. That's why if you were to just take your GPS there, it wouldn't quite work right. If you, but either way, that's something they have to adjust for, and that takes resources away from installing actually Smart Summon and FSD beta on the newer on all the older cars. They've already got newer cars.
And some things that Chris hasn't mentioned, but we've been thinking about here is that is there going to be some change to the fascia of the Juniper? Is there going to be a different front end? Obviously, the Model 3 got some changes. It would make a lot of sense if they're going to follow that and have the same type of maybe headlights or daytime running lights is going to be the same, so they could use from the same parts bin like they did with the previous version of the 3 and the Y. Is there going to be a sharing of parts? Hopefully, because economies of scale would allow them to get more volume. It's going to allow them to lower the part price. So that's going to make a lot of sense if they could actually do that. But the Model 3, of course, in its performance version, got a new fascia, completely different than the regular Model 3. So, again, that's something that may be the case as well when it comes to the performance Model Y over the regular.
I think there will be some differences between them, but I'm curious. Some of the leaks we're seeing, I don't know that like we'll have a light pipe in the way that they're showing it. Like it's if it's where they're showing it, it seems to add cost and effort rather than Elon's favor of just delete parts.
Yeah. I think they're going to have to. It's a tightrope, right? Like they want it they want it to be a little bit different, but yet they don't want to add to the parts bin and lower the amount of parts they're buying for a certain version of the car.
Right.
It makes sense to keep things, the same as possible. But
Yeah.
maybe they've done that already, and maybe this could be a test to see, well, if we do change the front of the car, the fascia, the side, whatever, does that increase sales? Does that make this car even more wildly popular than it already is?
Yeah. I can see them having a different version for the performance. This is like a minor, like, oh, we put this thing in the mold, so now it has like the brake fence like we see on the Model 3. But just something about the way that they're rendering of these fan favorites of the light bar on the front bumper. I don't doubt that they might do something on the front. They did it with the oh, you're wet. Did it with the Cybertruck, but there it's done in a way that doesn't cost too much extra. The way that they're showing it,
Right.
it's fragile and it's in a weird place. I'm curious how it actually looks.
Yeah. And I'd like to push this out to our audience. Chris is indicating that he believes that the first version of the Juniper will be available in China in first quarter of 2025, and that's not a surprise either. China started with the refresh of the Model 3, and I would think that it makes a lot of sense that the Model Y refresh will be first in China as well. But I want to ask you out there, when do you think it will reach North American shores? What quarter do you believe that Juniper will hit here? So put that in the comments. I'd be interested to see what you think. And with that, I think we will wrap because, of course, Casey's got some daddy duty coming up, obviously, because Moto is just wanting his attention.
Yes.
Well, what do you got for shout outs, Casey, before we go?
Well, catch us on Sunday at Let's Chat with Casey and Friends. She might be there, she might not. And then on Monday, come back here for the other episode of the week for the Tesla Life Express. And that's what we've got for you.
Exactly.
Also, tomorrow, check out the, hopefully, depending on the weather, check out the Starlander leaving the ISS. And they'll test out the thrusters a little bit and make room for the Dragon capsule.
There you go. All right. Well, thanks so much for watching. We thank Lee Moon for the music we use every week. And tune in next time. And together we'll find out what's happening in the Tesla life.